And we have breaking news. The Associated Press is saying that Todd Young will be the projected winner of the U.S. Senate race in Indiana. Mike Wolf, that's some pretty startling news for the Bye campaign here at 8:30. Todd Young is projected to win the U.S. Senate, a commanding lead at this point, and even with more votes to go in heavily Democratic areas, they're not seeing the numbers adding up in Bye's favor.
Well, it's remarkable. I mean, that's a huge lead right now. And you and I were talking. He's not keeping up with the gubernatorial numbers. So that's a, you've got to keep up with what the other races statewide are doing to get an indicator. And this is he's pretty far behind. I can't see a way.
And this is the first race that Bye has lost since 1986. And as we had talked about earlier in the night, certainly going to be a hit on his legacy.
Yeah, it's hard to get in a race in July and get your wheels spinning. I mean, when you're running a nomination contest, you can feel out your staff, you can get things going, you get your ground game covered, get your money raising. You come in cold, certainly with a big name and able to get up on TV and with $12 million, but it's hard to necessarily get that traction, though, to get the ad down on the ground, get out the vote stuff going.
And the Republicans did a tremendous job of just hammering him on his post-Senate interest, his lobbying efforts, and Bye never really answered to that. He never spoke about it, never tried to deflect it, never tried to provide an answer that would calm voters, and that clearly stuck with them as they aren't going to give him his old seat back.
The people are against establishment right now, that's for sure. And they created him as the establishment, to be sure. And so, not surprisingly, he's paying a price for it, huge. And as you mentioned, you have to respond. I mean, when you go negative, you gotta get in there and respond. And it's hard to do on that angle, especially if you were doing those things. I mean, the American public doesn't like the so-called revolving door. And he was involved in that because, I think we do want the private sector to have influence in American politics. So it's that's one element of it, but it doesn't help to rerun for office after that.
Guys, do we have a picture down at the Republican headquarters in Indianapolis? Have they gotten the news yet? Is there any type of reaction there? Okay, we don't have that picture yet, but Democrats, to get control of the Senate, or at least get to 50-50, need to pick up 6. So they've taken Indiana's out of the picture now. Yeah. And we had kind of seen that from Democrats nationally the last few days. They were becoming less reliant on Bye picking up the seat here, where when he first jumped in the race, they initially thought it might be a shoo-in. Okay, we do have the pictures down there in Indianapolis of the Republican headquarters. Certainly an optimistic crowd, and if they have not got word, they soon will, and they will be in quite jubilation to be something they can hang their hat on here in Indiana. But with Indiana now out of it for the Democrats to get some control back in the Senate, that pretty much means they have to rely on North Carolina, on Colorado, on Missouri. Those three states at least. New Hampshire is a big one.
Pennsylvania is a big one, too.
Pennsylvania, the polling there has been all over the place, really. It's it's been tight in the presidential race. Then Clinton had pulled away a little bit, but then the Senate polling was kind of opposite of what the presidential polling was. And Pennsylvania's been a hard state to narrow down for all types of federal campaigns.
Exactly. And you wonder, I mean, Indiana, we saw the polling in the last week really flip kind of suddenly toward Young's direction. So that's, I think, noteworthy when we kind of think about this, that it might not have been surprised. Now you're wondering what's going to happen in the governor's race. If this is, if Evan Bye didn't provide a lift overall to the whole Democratic Party, I think in July everyone was, getting the champagne out. And clearly, you got to run a campaign. That's what, you got to run a campaign.